Hello, species value nature system. I didn't read this, but there are proofs per correlation and per the needs of people and per the methods of people hiding their needs to keep correlation nature hurt, prevented, and pseudo cared for as criminal and seditious nature. I'm not a lawyer, not a police force, not a criminal. Also, per the value of per predicate value, its actual connections to every subject when it's brought up. See, we have logic racketeering since semi-ancient times, self-valued. Before anyone was born, before their teachers came through, sciences as victims that were sciences that are criminally foreign influenced, to have that defended, to have sensibilities of logic racketeering defended as roles with the Constitution abridged and justifications of it. So as uses of that, of positive in relationship to this identity of volume that identity is, in relationship to positive and negative. This is where every individual is a complete nature or volume. Simultaneously, we are semi-nature with grouped areas, sexes, areas, ages, states, and nations, identities, and nations grouped even, and nations altogether. And that positive or negative, each part of it. See, yin yang was used by the ancients to teach this. What is true always, not denying any exceptions. Then now you have to put yin yang associated with the sequence true since before, when science reveals how to do that, but before matter. And then and it's still gaining value, that identity of value progression as its own, but distinctly as its own, distinctly, not distinctly, and simultaneously as its own, and simultaneously as the value of the order to the finite, simultaneously as the value to the order to the active quality of fact treatment nature, and the value of our progressive fact treatment nature, and the value of our identity, where it's complete and semi at the same time, because it's value where it's semi at the same time, and where it's complete, it's both by what is even bigger, complete nature relationship to itself as a semi-nature that we follow, that which is attached to these five semi-natures of volume as its attachment to its identity of relationship to itself, which is 4/4 of as one identity, is the way it's self-generating. Its complete nature of volume is 4/4. Space and existence are two semi-natures of this, 2/4, and they share an identity. Part of the value of space as the complete identity, part of the value of existence as this complete identity of forever nature, as an identity of volume, it shifted them, value transferred them into another shared identity, and they can't be less than itself, because they can only be positive one way. So it made a circuit. It fills in, that made it more energy and more value, and that made the empty parts of existence. See how space is empty? Existence it's only temporary slash lasting. It's a semi-nature with a simultaneous nature, even that where and how nothing can be semi-nature. So it's only increasing. Then we'll examine this, what reveals evolution's fruits and gifts or forces it away from here, Earth's value. And as our own, Leith of Hadith, force. Because we're value nature systems, market positions tactically ulterior than from this one originally. This that American history is really revealed to teach. So people associated, especially legalized criminal and seditious natures, American history is about this worse than, I'm not a lawyer, not not a criminal. It's about this worse than racketeering method, worse than war crimes, civil racketeering method. No, identity racketeering method with color. Same reason They put color in there to keep everyone worse than divided and conquered, breaching screens and tools and roles, blaming other things other than themselves for its roles with and causes of negative value nature progressions acts like predicate acts, natures like criminal and seditious natures, wrongdoers. So there are proofs that the ancients revealed they had English revealed to be they had English to hurt, taken away from memory of nations that valued it as a grouped value, hyper positive or negative. Like each of the languages have an identity of relationship to themselves, individually grouped and together, the same way each individual does. Individually, they have a grouped identities, and we have the complete species nature of volume inseparable from us, because this identity bigger than the four directions, even bigger than all identity of value progressions, individually grouped and together. It is the identity of the four directions, as it is the value of that increasingly. So I didn't read this, but there are proofs that the ancients referred to the point of the period as the point of real possession, and to the comma as the shadow of possession. And there are proofs that the ancients referred to the period as the victory, and to the colon as the semi-victory. And this is also within as a course that has to discern the difference between positive as criminal and seditious nature, and positive as not. Now, for example, this has to do with the logic racketeering. Since founding, we needed logic that is true always, not denying exceptions, not valuing them denied, having been denied. Needs to say things like to other people, like, you know how to frame a question, they have to say, you know how it's unnatural, how everyone forced things like slavery, and then say people of all natures of humanity, they say, oh, they jump in and say, oh, if it wasn't natural, it wouldn't happen. See, this is why we have to understand how the Trinity is a part of science. We have to understand the difference between positive as criminal and seditious nature and positive as not. For example, it is this nature's complete nature of relationship to itself that is denied. That's why people did what was unnatural. That's why they were defending. They had, quote, sense and sensibilities, to use that Jane Austen used, probably a phrase that was used before that. So you have Immanuel Kant, go into detail about practical reason, because people didn't have free speech, because people didn't have quality of sequence nature allowed, quality of premise treatments allowed, quality of positive treatments allowed, quality of identity as anything other than breaching screen, fake patriotism, and weapons and tools and worse, states and areas of each modern nation in a semi-ancient trap. The language is just like ourselves. They have an identity of the sounds of the 26 sounds of the English language were revealed by the ancients, most probably demonstrably. They have an identity of relationship to themselves, and they have the value of that. This is how English was revealed to teach about how the sciences share an identity. They pretend people can't speak criminally. I'm asking you, if you say, well, you have to be able to report when you say simple sentences, they don't understand you. Then they pretend they use the right to lie criminally. Then they keep their conversation going. They're worse than just making allegations against people. They're stacking fake recorded conversations, fake recorded things into the databases, fake conversations and locations with police that never were, with doctors that never were. They have human trafficking roles of prosecutors with child sex offender principal further then and now with his campus. I caught them with. And they know I caught them. That's why we need to have a response to them, because they were involved with a whole bunch of they have doctors of kids involved with judges in their court, various natures of courts, and their kids involved with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering. Everyone forced to speak through other, and they're using that criminally. distances from databases. They're using confessions criminally. See, now, we have wars and things like that. We need peaceful. We need counters, not just peaceful. We need counters that aren't in collusion, but only here and there. That's where they have collusion at the trade center level. A whole bunch of people tied to the campuses and on off them with a Walters family and with a John Mayano and with the Kerr family and with that's with their Facebook pages too of Interbranch in the campuses and Officer Jerry Miller and other officers interbranch with Facebook pages, also racketeering with wire crimes, mail crimes, and roles with the Witness Protection Program criminally. As these people involved with crimes with overt criminal enterprises juxtaposed. Two Mendez police. The older one pretended I had a conversation with Edward in life. I never had a conversation with him. He put me into fake quotes and put the name of police equipment. He's one of the guys associated with Wethersfield Police Department. Also, his brother outside of the New Britain Superior Court involved with racketeering with child sex offenders proven and further recorded, and with their family members with other natures of racketeering, and with women interbranch judges, falsified police reports with police from West Hartford, from East Hartford. They switch the arresting officers' names too. Now there's a detective, Samuto, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering with human trafficking acts and with racketeering with child sex offenders, falsified police reports with state's attorneys and with judges. They're with black and white female judges, with also KKK themed crimes, with and also foreign and domestic like military, Kuwaiti military. People with CCSU roles with Saudi families I don't know the names of, with Nordstrom's, a whole bunch of people with West Farms Mall through time involved with other intercity racketeering with CCSU Trinity College used as victims from with a whole bunch of federal criminals associated with former director of the FBI, his co-defendants, and as them and their family members further involved racketeering on and off WFSB, on and off Fox Connecticut News, on and off the New Haven FBI, on and off Yale, on and off UConn. Now they have the people with the professions associated with the self-valued criminally foreign influence sciences, abridged self-valued sub rosa racketeering with words and with the Constitution ground ties abridged originally and still. We're going to have American history understood. We're going to have semi-ancient history understood. We're going to have ancient history understood distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously in relationship to sequence true. And this reveals physical delusions, criminally foreign influence premises treatment, sequence treatments of every modern nation state scenarios. Now that's only going to allow entertained pseudo-positives at the leadership levels of nations in states and areas. All logic racketeering, especially with psychology, overtly it's recorded, but you have to follow mandated law because of the crime methods the branches of government and their family members are involved with individually grouped together as victims too, but as victim predators. So, and then also the online is associated with their treatments of online vetting of information. As the only ones in the background seeing vetting, they're using it for racketeering. So they're even influencing people to pretend not to understand people and things like that online. So we're gonna come to this. I did a whole long good video about it, but then I don't know what happened to it. This is the second time this happened. Then it just gets messed up. But this the period, there are proofs that the period was referred to as also as the victory, and the comma as the semi-victory. And this goes with the letter V, stands for victory, not value, because This is where identity is value. But this is about where identity is value, positive or negative in relationship to itself, where each self has this semi-nature relationship to the identity of all the value progressions at once, and its identity of relationship to itself, which is unchanging, which is also simultaneously changing, because it is self-generating. Its nature of volume as forever nature only increases. And see, Earth's simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space nature is our distinct and non-distinct relationship to this identity of value progression's identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that concentrated. So space and existence share an identity together too, as 3/4 of what is also a one complete identity of volumes, complete 4/4 complete identity. Everything is value nature inside values nature. Everything has a value/value nature relationship to it as an increasing nature of volume, as forever nature, as simultaneous nature. So the ancients would demonstrably use yin yang to show what is true always, as the science of figuring out what's going to be true always, not denying exceptions, what's going to cause evolution's fruits and gifts, by associating it with distinctly and non-distinctly the order of the sequence. The science can show how, if it was true or not, the way before, in relationship to the identity of value progression coming, even though it was from before matter, it's still distinctly and non-distinctly one way before matter, as one identity of relationship to itself, even while it's in matter. And we'll examine and the value of that simultaneously with the value of the order to the finite, before the smallest thing, while it has the value of the smallest thing and the biggest thing at once. And while it is the value of our active quality of fact shaping nature, again with subjective subject and with predicate value, increasing natures of volume together, not just as a sentence, which can itself be positive, but only as criminalization's nature. And we'll examine then, and the value of progressive value is value here now, per this system, per this identity of forever nature that's going to either make more and more positive that is positive onto itself, or it's going to force us from here. It's going to force more and more with that of the value of its inherent nature's identity. Because one thing existence and space share simultaneously, besides an identity together, is the even greater identities, even greater identity of relationship to itself, while it is sharing each one of those non-distinctly, the same exact way, and distinctly, and simultaneously. So one identity of value progression is in generation of itself as 4/4. Whereas and how that is simultaneously not true, the trinity of itself as 3/4 of itself has a value/value nature relationship to itself, where it's a value transfer, where it's the same identity now distinctly and non-distinctly, space and existence, part of space taken away, even though this is invisible too, given to the extra value of existence, temporary making more forever nature, and that's coupled with its complete volume keeps filling it in, so it's a circuit. Because it can't take away from its volume. So there are proofs. See how the heart and the lungs, they both pump. There are proofs that the ancients understand that they both, even when they're right, you have to check when you're that 5 ways at once and unceasingly about the name of God. For example, in relationship, this is God as an algebraic variable. We're not using God with faith. We're not using prayer as faith. But the science of correlation nature is a nature of prayer. And there's a method here. Again, those 5 identities of positive are 5 identities of sequence nature simultaneously. And the value of that simultaneously is the discernment of the simultaneous nature of relationship to itself, and the value of that. Again, what's going to cause positive value nature progressions, action natures, it's going to force it from here if we don't follow its system, Leith of Hadith. That's how it demonstrates. So, but we have all positive treatments out of sequence from the ground of religious books. For example, in relationship to the subjects and predicate treatment, sequence treatments. We have the first part of the Old Testament prevented anyone free speech from demonstrating all that's discerned. Where it's talking about sciences, all where that's discerned, where it says we're supposed to write the part that comes before the science of correlation, where Genesis is being demonstrated, and that's what this is about here. 4/4 of one identity has this trinity of space and of existence as semi-nature relationship, also with the identity they are together, to the complete nature of volume they are together. In a circuit now, where one giving up its value to the other, and the other one giving up its value to the other, made it what it can't be, which is negative value nature progression. But it is anyway positive value nature progression, because the value of that makes the complete identities for all 4/4 more and more value to now to the semi-nature of space and of existence. So it fills it in to keep everything complete, value progression perfect. And everything that becomes more value to itself, positive or negative, for the perfection of what is positive. That's where evolution's fruits and gifts comes from. This identity is identity of relationship to itself, which is in our control. We have recorded criminally foreign influence zoning laws. We have recorded criminally foreign influence, criminal insidiousness nature takes on language that was forced by our founders. We have the torture with torture of. So this way we have directly, indirectly the torture of the fact, cheapening nature, slavery of our founders, not even forced glorified. We have how George Washington had to leave overt slavery with color entrenched in the North, in Connecticut, in my town, right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War, even with the French general's help. Now it is telling how recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. We have intercultural, we have black and white female judges, even more white female judges than the one black female judge. Recorded and involved with racketeering with a detective Samuda, who is also black, but he's involved with he pretended he was an arresting officer of me. WFSB also attached me to fake locations with their officers, and with people on and off the state judicial branch offices, and with houses next to them, and all along that route, right in front of it, next to that too. From Glastonbury across the bridge, and then all along that route, right through my town, right through Rocky Hill, and right into Cromwell where it ends. All along that, they have people involved with them through time with database racketeering, mail crimes, wire crime rolls, crimes with state police families. These are people facilitating these crimes with a former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin. Now these are people with crimes with media right through administrations. These are criminal uses of administrations. There's a Spada family associated with Mr. Mr. Biden. She invited him to a prom or something like that in the radio, and her family, a whole bunch of sisters and stuff like that, and brother and her mother works with the schools. And now these are people with AT&T, with FBI, and with New Haven, on off New Haven locations, on off Yale, on off New Haven FBI, involved with racketeering, also with this Walters family, with former director of the FBI, people tied to them with racketeering, with these Kerr family. There's an Inspector Mike, I don't know who that is, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by someone who pretended to be or was the Chris Walters. These are people I barely know. He has people that went to his a wedding of his. He recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. That's why I knew him. I haven't saw him years before that, and the only times I saw him years before that, he was involved with switching things he said and switching things he communicated, and with his narrative, and falsified police reports that a Dillon family was involved with. Now these are people with my new and past neighbors, also on and off Central Connecticut State University. Whole bunch of state police, their daughters, women, state police, people involved with forensics locations, involved with them, with my new and past neighbor, with a principal sex offender, and with a former Mayor Gold, involved with racketeering from the 70s, 60s. People like that, with the transition from Alcatarico, then with the transition with the institution of the Department of Homeland Security, also used because to hide criminal uses of those identity of the ground locations, already long known about by a whole bunch of other nations, like Russians involved with them, with a whole bunch of Justice Department racketeering here. Now, how do I know about all this stuff? Because every time they open up their mouths, they lie. Now I can't get a response in writing. They use their identity of the ground locations criminally. They're gonna lie and attach you to fake recorded things. If you go to the police departments, if you go to the courts and ask them with your mouth verbally, they're gonna lie too and attach you to fake words, fake ties to other people. They're gonna hide all that, how they've been doing that through time since they were kids. The prosecutors, male and female, others with the courts of all the different positions with the courts, roles with racketeering with databases when they were kids, roles with mail crimes clicks, wire crime clicks, whole bunch of people associated with a Joshua Stryker and a Joshua Julian involved with racketeering, with pilots' families, with people, with the neighbors of them involved with racketeering. Again, leading up to the Trade Center attack in the context from my state. And since a Scalora family is also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with them with Wethersfield Police, and involved with CIA and with FBI, with other nations, with houses in my area, involved further with crimes of juxtaposed natures of racketeering, with people on the child sex offender registry, like the principal sex offender. Now see that we have prosecutors also recorded with the media racketeering uses of their own kids with such, and uses of their Facebook pages, not just with judges. We have also state's attorneys forging names, switching names roles, preventing any media response in writing. Now they've been using Facebook too, pages block people too. And then they make allegations that they know that are worse than allegations. They're racketeering, worse than extortion acts, worse than identity thefts. No, we have some interbranch racketeering natures pretending to be against things like prejudice because they are already racketeering natures needing to pretend to be about positive, needing to pretend to be about integrity when they have none. So they have to have pseudo-positive treatments. They have to compare the women who are unequally made to pay all this extra money to have their kids in schools compared to the other kids who can't do that. And because all those kids were used for racketeering by the courts that are very sick. So I didn't read this, but there are proofs that they referred to the victory That period as the victory, and the semicolon as the semi-victory. Not value, because value deals with identity, and this is about identity of a value progression perfect, that one that is attached to all things as semi-nature, us, and where and as and how we will only can be complete nature. So we're making more complete nature that is also all positive onto and has its identity of forever nature, its volume, making more of itself, or it's forced away from here. Earth simultaneously distinct and non-distinct relationship to the rest of space nature. Its relation to this identity of value progression. So the 26 identity of letter, the 26 sounds of the English language, the sounds of other languages were revealed to have an individually grouped and together identities. They have this identity of relationship to themselves that were beyond our control. These inventions were these languages and all aspects of them, all details associated with them, were revealed. They weren't invented. So we have criminally foreign influence sciences to keep them pseudo-positive, self-valued, racketeering, way worse. Uses of the Pentagon, uses of the witness, use that too. Uses of the World Trade Center, leading up to it in the attack context, and with the investigators since. So they want to have debates about their emotions now, which are true only in relationship to they were roles. Everyone's indifference to the Justice Department racketeering. What do you think is going to happen? Where they have like Hartford, North End of Hartford, where they have shootings a lot of times, especially if made up. New Haven, a lot of shooting. Any of these areas where Jay-Z came from, they showed it on there. Where Mike Tyson came from, they showed it on there. Like people stacking, people not with just no resources. This is resource. Free speech. Science true always, not deny exceptions. Those people are victims that go to campuses that keep those campuses involved. They're going to have to pretend to be integrity. They waste the time of those kids till they're adults that were abused the whole time, abusing those kids. Then those kids have parents. Those kids become parents that are still victims, but now they're claimed predators because they're not good to their kids. How are they going to be good to their kids? They came through criminally foreign influence sciences, campuses, in collusion with what is from off the ground of education's value, on off campuses and layers, on off database relationships. They have each of the online, they have all kinds of courts involved with a whole bunch of natures of racketeering already with evidences, making up exculpatory evidences. Making up inculpatory evidences and hiding, worse than just hiding, exculpatory evidences, which means evidences that show they're making things up. They're also hiding that. We have human trafficking roles like this, database racketeering roles like this, like with a whole bunch of people tied to this Detective Samuda, with East Hartford racketeering, of Magnano's family, and some other guy doesn't even realize what they did with his name. Wasn't it? I don't know his name. I want to refer to him as black, but he was black too. But it was a totally different guy, and he was the only sane one there. Like this officer Magnanos also has from East Hartford, also has a whole bunch of other people with East Hartford through time involved with them with racketeering, and he has his daughter involved, and a whole bunch of other people with the departments at CCSU are involved with the racketeering with the child sex offender principals campus, and with these positions with the campuses in the background where they're making up lies because they've already been involved with racketeering in the past with databases. Now their identities of what they call their whole careers. They throw people's lives away like that, people with no money, because they never had a chance. And not only they haven't had a chance, they have their identity stolen constantly. How are they going to know how to think? You have fake experts on logic. I'm not even a doctor. I delineate their delusions from their criminally foreign influenced souls here. They're also involved with various natures of courts at once. A whole bunch of foreign and domestic doctors. Russians with them racketeering with the same groups pretending to be against Russians with with elections. Those same courts. Whole bunch of people on off the state judicial branch offices racketeering on off WFSB with them, on off Fox Connecticut News with them. Whole bunch of people racketeering with that connected to Old Saybrook, connected with identity thefts. Then they're ducking behind whatever they have in Old Saybrook, associated with this Joe Aiello, with a Mike Daly. Anyone tied to me. You'll see even they have religious spots and sensibilities of religious spots as counter criminal and seditious natures, still criminal and seditious natures. We have some sick people with religions. It's not to knock religion. It's to defend the Constitution. Religion that originally still criminally foreign influence is preventing people that aren't criminally foreign influence from free speech. They're having the each of the sciences and like religions, intercampuses involved with treatments of criminal seditious natures of positive, keeping that self-value, because that defendant can't stand logic with simple sentences that are true always, not denying exceptions. Get the judges to one name and sequence with the prosecutors and their excuses and or their apologies. Who disbelieves? Have them pick one name and sequence now. I mean, we need ways to counter their violence, their crimes with poisons, with smoke, with the fire department, with the chimney smoke, and with uses of houses in my area involved with the racketeering, with the overt criminal enterprises, the stewards of the witness protection program. They're keeping victims used as victim predators. These are also people with the Los Solitos, undercover people, actually involved with a whole bunch of racketeering with various natures of overt criminal enterprises and private ones. Recorded how kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, and worse. Weathersfield Pizza also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated racketeering interbranch with people around them, like the state judicial branch offices, people in the Britain Superior Court involved with them, and like with the Maiano family, involved with the male and female prosecutors with their kids, with the principal sex offenders campus, no, around their kids. Weathersfield Police Chief's daughter. Get me a response in writing. They're using their Facebook pages to hide and plot and for involved racketeering acts. These are people racketeering with a whole bunch of federal criminals tied to and as, and their family members tied to and as federal criminal code defendants of former director of the FBI with a case/S that was going on at the time of my father's death. There's a Leahy family also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, had fake conversations with me that never were since I was a kid. I never had conversations with them. These are doctors that are forging names, switching names with various natures of courts and their drug clicks with those courts, with the prosecutors and people involved also with former Governor Malloy, with the principal sex offenders campus, and with the media still hiding lipoaggressions, hiding treatments of positive that are not positive. Real sick people with the kids here. Get me a response.